So I want to introduce you to Steve Tam, if you don't know him already. He retired about a year ago from the Alzheimer's Association. He was the director of development for us, and he was able to help us out a lot with great walks and the longest day and the fundraisers. So we are very grateful that he is continuing his volunteering with the walk and also with programs, which is what he's doing today. He does have firsthand experience with Alzheimer's. He was a caregiver for his father. And again, we are so thankful that Steve is here and that he is adding his expertise, both even because he is a caregiver. He was a caregiver, so he's well-rounded with Alzheimer's and dementia. He knows exactly what you're going through and the questions that you may have. He is very he's an expert in doing this. So we're excited that you're here, Steve. And if you want to go ahead and start.
Sure. Mahalo, Tanya. Welcome to the webinar on the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's. And I'm a volunteer, as Tanya said, for the association. I'm going to be facilitating the discussion today. I volunteer, in memory of my dad. I personally hate how Alzheimer's disease really took an emotional toll on my family. The disease robbed my father of his memory, his ability to walk and talk, and the ability to communicate with my mom and even with his grandson and granddaughter. My dad passed away about 4 days before my parents' 60th wedding anniversary. The disease caused me to quit my 20-year career in real estate, and instead I spent time helping as a caregiver, and then for the past 10 years, advocating for kupuna, and of course, increasing awareness of Alzheimer's. I did retire last year, but remain personally committed to the Alzheimer's Association and helping families affected by the disease. Today's program is designed for those who want to learn more about the warning signs of Alzheimer's and other dementias, and those who notice memory or thinking changes in themselves, in others, or loved ones. Throughout this presentation, we'll see a number of videos. Let's take a look at what we'll discuss today. Okay, today we're going to explore the most common warning signs of Alzheimer's disease and help you to get informed about what's the normal aging and what is not. By the end of today's program, my goal is for you to be able to describe typical age-related memory, thinking, or behavior changes, recognize the common warning signs of Alzheimer's and dementia, discuss the tips for approaching someone about memory concerns, explain the importance of early detection and benefits of diagnosis, identify possible tests and assessments for the diagnostic process, and also name the resources available through the association. Throughout the presentation, we're going to periodically check in with the Garcias. They're a fictitious family, and we're going to be following along with Mary's daughters, who discuss their mother's memory changes and take action to find the cause. Please note that the Garcia's experience might be common, but it does not represent the exact experience for everyone, as situations vary from person to person. I'd like to introduce you to Mary. She's a 73-year-old widow who lives alone. She's a retired teacher. She's meticulous about caring for her home. Her daughter has recently noticed laundry piling up and mail and newspapers scattered around the house. We have Lydia, and she's the eldest of Mary's 2 daughters. She lives a few miles away, and she visits her mother frequently. And we also have Patricia. She lives in another state, works long hours, is unable to visit her mother frequently, communicates with Mary and Lydia frequently via phone and text. Lydia is concerned about their mother's mother's noticeable lack of tidiness, and that she's continuously losing things. She reaches out to Patricia. In her text, she says, worry about mom. She keeps losing things and the house is a mess. Probably normal to get a little forgetful with age. It's so unlike her. Should we worry? Let's reach out to Dr. Salloway. I just want to point out that although this is a fictitious scenario, Dr. Salloway is a real MD who has been recognized as a leading expert in aging, Alzheimer's disease, and also other memory disorders.
As we get older, cognitive problems become more noticeable for almost everybody, and it can vary from person to person. Typically with age, people have trouble coming up with the word they want right when they want it. They have trouble remembering names, and they don't think quite as quickly. What's more concerning, or what might be the beginning of a memory problem, is people have a lot of trouble coming up with words or names, and it's happening more frequently, and the words or names don't necessarily come to them later. And then they start misplacing things, but not just once in a while, because we all misplace things, but more often. And it begins to interfere day to day. That should be a warning sign for people that this might be the beginning of a memory problem.
Okay, we're all here today to learn more about dementia and Alzheimer's and identify the common warning signs of the disease. You may have heard the terms dementia and Alzheimer's used interchangeably. While they are related, there are significant differences between the two. Let's hear more about this from some dementia and Alzheimer's experts. First, we have Dr. Heather Snyder, who's going to discuss what dementia is.
Dementia is the umbrella term for an individual's changes in memory, thinking, or reasoning. There are many possible causes of dementia, and Alzheimer's is the most common cause. Other causes of dementia are vascular dementia, which is marked by changes in the blood flow and the blood vessels in the brain. Dementia with Lewy bodies, identified by specific brain changes throughout the brain that include the buildup of a protein known as alpha-synuclein. And frontal temporal dementia, which is marked by brain cell loss in the front sections of the brain or the frontal lobe. Each type of dementia may have distinct characteristics to cause specific behaviors in the individual, but there is also some overlap in behaviors among the types of dementia.
Alzheimer's is the most common form of dementia, accounting for more than 80% of all cases. Next, Dr. Dean Hartley is going to explain to us what the disease is and what it looks like in the brain.
More than 100 years ago, Dr. Alice Alzheimer's described specific changes in the brain, what we call the formation of plaques and tangles. Now, Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that's marked by these key changes and is thought to impact memory, thinking, and behavior. The brain has three main parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem. Each one plays a role in how the body functions. The cerebrum fills up most of your skull. It is part of the brain most involved in remembering, problem solving, thinking, and even feelings. There are about 100 billion nerve cells, or neurons, throughout the brain that transmit messages in order for us to create memories, feelings, and thoughts. Alzheimer's disease causes nerve cells to die, which leads to the brain tissue loss, or what we call shrinkage, and causes loss of function and communication between cells. These changes can cause the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, such as memory loss, problems with thinking, planning, behavioral issues, and even at the end stages, problems with swallowing.
Lastly, we'll hear from Ruth Drew. She's the Director of Information and Support Services at the Alzheimer's Association. And she's going to talk about the importance of recognizing the warning signs of Alzheimer's.
It's important to know what the warning signs of Alzheimer's are and to be on the lookout. We know that we change over time, and the warning signs of Alzheimer's can be warning signs of a number of things. But when you see those in yourself or in someone you care about, it's important to check it out, to consult with a doctor, to find out what you're dealing with.
As Ruth said, it's important to know what the warning signs are and to be on the lookout for these marked changes. The Alzheimer's Association, as a leader in this area, developed a list of 10 warning signs to help people understand the difference between normal aging and the common signs of possible dementia. This list is intended to be a tool to help identify unusual changes in a person's memory, thinking, or behavior. It's important to note that this list does not constitute a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or dementia. These are simply the most common examples of changes experienced. Individuals may experience one or more of these signs in different degrees. Let's explore each sign and what some typical age-related changes may be. The first sign is memory loss that disrupts daily life. It's one of the most common signs of Alzheimer's, especially early on, and it's forgetting recently learned information. Others include forgetting important dates or events, repeatedly asking the same questions, and increasingly relying on memory aids or leaning on others for things or tasks once handled on their own. A typical age-related change is sometimes forgetting information, but remembering later. The second sign is challenges in planning or problem solving. Some people may experience new difficulties in executive functioning, including developing or following a plan or difficulty concentrating. Conversely, a more typical age-related change is making occasional errors when managing bills or household finances. Let's hear from John, who's living with dementia with Lewy bodies, about how he experienced this early warning sign. I also, before we get started on that, I do want to say one thing, because I am doing this presentation from home, and I do hear the garbage truck coming down the street. So I do apologize if you hear that in the background.
I was probably spending 4 to 5 times more time preparing for something than I did, say, 5 or 10 years ago, because of the, I would lose my thought, I'd lose my focus, I'd get anxious, I wouldn't get to sleep. I was thinking this, I was in my sleep, I was thinking about what I was anxious about, which was I was trying to remember, which was I was trying to prepare, which I was trying to do. So it was really a vicious circle of, so I was able to control it a lot, so that people on the wouldn't see things, and not, there weren't things to be seen. It's what was disturbing me was what effort I had to put into to do the things I used to do more easily.
Okay, the third sign, difficulty completing familiar tasks. People living with dementia often find it hard to complete daily tasks that they're used to be able to manage with ease, such as driving to Awana, or writing a grocery list, or remembering how to play a favorite game. On the other hand, a typical age-related change would be occasionally needing help to use the microwave or the TV remote. This could also include having trouble with new technology that the person maybe has not really had a chance to work with before. Let's hear a little more about this from our association expert.
Some people have difficulty with math or with reading in a way that's unusual to them. And once again, this is a change in that person. So for example, we all know somebody who was never able to balance their checkbook, right? So that wouldn't be a warning sign for them. But if somebody who always balanced their checkbook to the penny suddenly was paying bills, the same bill over and over, and not able to balance their finances, well, that would be a sign for them.
The fourth sign is confusion with time or place. An individual living with the disease or another dementia may lose track of dates, seasons, or the passage of time. They may have trouble understanding something if it's not currently happening, or become confused about where they are or how they got there. This can become more dramatic or profound in the middle and late stages of the disease. A more typical age-related change could be getting confused about what day it is or when a scheduled appointment is, but figuring it out later. The fifth sign, trouble understanding visual images and spatial relationships. Some individuals with Alzheimer's or another dementia may experience vision problems, it could lead to difficulty with balance, trouble reading and judging distances and determining color and contrast, which can all impact driving or navigating the environment around them. Vision changes such as cataracts are a more typical age-related change. This sign shows us that these changes are not just about memory. It's important to think about all the other ways that someone's daily life may be impacted by any of these changes. Our expert explains more. Let's take a look.
Alzheimer's disease is not just a disease of memory. It can affect other things too. It can affect the way that we perceive what we see. So sometimes somebody in the early stages of Alzheimer's might go to the eye doctor because they're having trouble seeing, and in fact, their vision is just fine, but the way they're perceiving what they're seeing may be difficult.
A sixth sign, new problems with words in speaking or writing. Individuals may have trouble following or joining a conversation, stop in the middle of a conversation and forget what they were talking about, and continuously repeat themselves. They might also struggle with finding the right word or calling things by the wrong name. They may start using more descriptive terms to talk about something rather than the name of the actual item. A more normal age-related change, however, would be occasionally having trouble finding the right word. Let's hear from Phil, who's living with Alzheimer's, about this warning sign.
The other thing that I've increasingly been struggling with are words, which I've dealt with words my entire life, as an avid reader, as a reporter, as a writer. I struggle with them now.
Another sign is misplacing things and losing the ability to retrace steps. This sign often causes concern in people. I want to clarify that this is not just about losing your keys on occasion. Misplacing things from time to time, but retracing steps to find them, that it's a normal age-related change. However, a person with Alzheimer's disease may lose things and not be able to recall when it was last seen or identify the location where it was placed. Or he or she may put things in unusual places, such as putting their shoes in the refrigerator. Because of the lack of executive function and awareness, the person may grow increasingly suspicious of others and start accusing others of stealing, or do so more frequently over time. Let's hear from Ruth Drew, who's going to explain more about this situation.
So some people wonder if they lose their keys or their glasses or their purse, is that a sign of Alzheimer's? And One thing that I would say about that is for most of us, we might misplace something, but then if we retrace our steps, we can usually find it. We can usually remember. For a person with Alzheimer's, sometimes they're not able to retrace their steps. Sometimes that memory is just gone. And so when they do find their keys next to the phone because they got interrupted by a phone call when they were coming in, they set their keys down in an unusual space. So there they are next to the phone. If that happened to you or me, we'd probably remember, oh yeah, the phone was ringing when I came in the door. I put down my keys. The person with Alzheimer's might not remember. They might wonder who's moving their keys around because they never put their keys by the phone. So that's just a little bit of a difference in some of the dynamics with losing things in Alzheimer's.
The eighth sign is decreased or poor judgment. Individuals may experience changes in judgment or decision-making, such as using poor judgment when dealing with money or paying less attention to hygiene and grooming. This can be especially common in individuals who live alone. Making a bad decision once in a while, such as forgetting to change the oil in your car, that's a more typical age-related change. Let's hear from Teresa.
The way I kept my house, I wouldn't say I was OCD, but pretty close to it. And all of a sudden, everything was okay with me. It's like, oh, it's a pile, I'm tired. So my dining room table usually looked like it was someone's office, because I always would say I would do it tomorrow. And then my bedroom, as far as clothing, I would just put it in a corner, put it in a chair. And all of this is just, I wouldn't say it looked like I was a pet wreck, but really I was, because I never threw anything away. I always would say, I'll get to it, but I never did get to it. So just the way of my standard of living, it was actually decreasing.
The ninth sign, withdrawal from work or social activities. As we age, it's normal to feel uninterested by family or social engagements at times. However, someone who's experiencing dementia-related changes may start to lose their ability to hold or follow a conversation. And as a result, begin withdrawing from social encounters or hobbies. They may lose the confidence to engage in that way. Let's hear from Dr. Salloway again.
One of the most common changes, and early on, is the person's comfort zone shrinks a little bit, and then that gets worse throughout the course of the illness. So they're less comfortable going out, they're less motivated to do things than they were in the past. So there's some change in day-to-day functioning that way. I think people also lose confidence in their cognitive abilities, because they may not recognize someone or know their name or find the right word, and they'll feel awkward, and they don't want people to notice that, so they feel more comfortable at home or in situations with family where they're very, very comfortable with that wouldn't concern them. So people tend to withdraw a little bit and be less outgoing. That's can be one of the early signs of Alzheimer's.
And the 10th sign is changes in mood and personality. Individuals with Alzheimer's or another dementia may become confused, suspicious, depressed, fearful, or even anxious. They may easily get upset, either at home or when out of their comfort zone. As we age, however, it's normal to develop very specific ways of doing things and becoming more upset or irritable when our routine is disrupted. On the other hand, someone with Alzheimer's or dementia may become more fearful, angry, or easily frustrated, which is something that should be addressed. Dr. Salloway will share more.
Another early sign of Alzheimer's or dementia is subtle changes in behavior. So all of a sudden, the family may notice the person is more easily irritated, or more impatient, or a little moody, or have a shorter fuse, or more anxious. Now, there's lots of things that can cause that, but often that can be an early symptom of Alzheimer's or go along with the early symptoms of memory loss.
Let's check in with the Garcias again. As we talked about earlier, Mary's daughters are concerned about the changes they've observed in their mom. They want to know when is it time to see a doctor about the changes they've witnessed. Let's take a look at that conversation. Did you look at the warning signs info I sent? The response was, I did, but still don't know. Mom's showing a couple of signs, but not all the time. How do we know if it's serious enough to see a doctor? They agreed to check with Dr. Salloway.
Memory is not all or none, especially when there are early symptoms or signs. So on a good day, people might function very well and not really no one notices there's a memory problem. But on other days, especially if they're tired, then things become more noticeable. So memory is variable. It's not all or none. And then there are different type of symptoms that develop for each person. So some people may have trouble with language, may have trouble with organizing themselves, may have trouble navigating while driving, and other people don't have the same symptoms. So you don't have to have every symptom of Alzheimer's to be concerned. And I think the most important thing is determining what has changed from that person's normal level of functioning. And usually people have a pretty keen sense of what they can normally do well. And then when either they or the family notice that there has been some change from that usual pattern of functioning, that should be a warning sign to people. But they don't have to check off all the boxes.
Okay, Dr. Salloway gives us a great recap. It's important to remember that these warning signs are intended to be a guide to help identify problems in memory, thinking, or behavior that may be related to Alzheimer's or another dementia. Individuals may experience one, all, or some of these signs in varying degrees, and in numerous or maybe just a single occurrence. They do not have to experience them all for there to be a concern. It's important to discuss any changes in memory, thinking, or behavior in either yourself or someone else with a doctor. Our next topic is early detection. It's really key that we pay attention to what's going on with our own cognitive health and not dismiss changes that we may be experiencing as normal aging, as well as that of others around us. Any change that's unusual for your level of functioning or that of someone around you, that's cause for concern. Many times, friends and family are the first to notice changes in someone's memory, behavior, or other abilities. What we're going to discuss now is why it's critical to address any observed changes early and seek answers from a medical professional. Sometimes the person exhibiting symptoms isn't aware or may not have the insight to know that they're experiencing changes, which is why having an outside perspective is so critical. This is especially important for individuals who live alone or are far from friends and family. Let's listen as Dr. Salloway discusses this, and then hear from a care partner who was really the first to notice changes in her husband.
It's a very interesting phenomena that people who have memory problems are often less aware of it than family members or their friends who know them well. One of the reasons for that is our ability to monitor ourselves, which is an important part of brain function, decreases when we start having memory problems. Not in everybody, but commonly, and more than half the people with memory problems. And so the person is just not keeping track of the trouble they're having day to day. But the family members are, paying attention. If they're paying attention, they see, boy, this is starting to happen a lot, and the person's not aware of it. So the family's more aware, and they may talk to their loved one about it, and they say, I've noticed you've been repeating yourself. And they say, I'm not repeating myself. And that could either be due to the fact that they're not aware of it, or they may not want to acknowledge it.
I was so adamant about what was happening to Daryl. I wasn't sure. I didn't know. And this wasn't the person that I know. This wasn't the person. Daryl was my husband was very, he always had to be building or designing or working with his hands. And it was getting to the point where he wasn't, and he was becoming very frustrated when he was forgetting to do things or go places.
Okay, if you continue to observe these changes, it's critical that you plan to take the next step and have a conversation with the person or others close to him or her about what you've noticed. This can be a difficult or uncomfortable conversation to have. The Alzheimer's Association has developed what I'll call a roadmap of 10 helpful steps to help make addressing memory concerns less daunting and more productive. Let's take a look. The first thing we do is we start by assessing the situation. What changes in memory, thinking, or behavior do you see? What is the person doing or not doing, that's causing the concern? What else is going on? Various conditions can cause changes in memory, thinking, and behavior. Are there other health or lifestyle issues that could be contributing to these challenges and changes? Maybe it's stress, maybe it's diabetes, or a change in medication. Learn about the signs and the benefits of early diagnosis. You've already taken the very important first step by joining us here today for this program. Do you notice any of these signs in the person that you're concerned about? Has anyone else noticed the changes that you've observed? Talk with friends and family. What, if any, changes have they noticed? Next, prepare to have a conversation. Who should be the one to discuss the concerns with the person? It could be you, it could be a trusted family member or a friend, or a combination. It's usually best to speak one-to-one with that person who doesn't, so that they don't feel threatened or ambushed. But use what you know about the person to judge what approach might work the best. When and where should the conversation be held? It's important to have the conversation as soon as possible. In addition to identifying a date and time, you should also consider where the person will feel the most comfortable. What will you or the person having the conversation say? You may want to build out something of a script to talk to them. Consider the following questions. I noticed that you're not picking up the mail, and I'm concerned. Have you noticed this? Are you worried? Or how have you been feeling lately? You haven't seemed like yourself. Or I noticed that you're not washing the dishes anymore, and it worried me. Has anything else like that happened? The 8th step, offer to go with the person to the doctor. Ask the person to see a doctor and offer to accompany them. Try using encouraging words such as, there's a lot of things that could be causing this. Let's see if the doctor can help us figure out what's going on. The sooner we know what's causing these problems, the sooner we can address it. Or, I think it would give us both peace of mind if we talk to a doctor. If needed, have multiple conversations. Please don't be discouraged if the first conversation is not as successful as you'd hope. Take notes about what went well and what didn't go well so you can prepare for any future conversations. Please don't dismiss the changes you noticed as simply because the person is reluctant to address them or the conversation didn't go as planned. Next, reach out for support. You can turn to the Alzheimer's Association. Call our 24/7 helpline to talk to master level clinicians who can provide reliable support and information, including about how to have this important conversation. Finally, see a doctor. Most people address these concerns about memory, thinking, and behavior with their primary care physician first. However, in some cases, that PCP may refer the person to a specialist for further evaluation. Examples of specialists include a geriatrician who may have additional training in medical care for diseases and conditions common in older adults, or neurologists who specialize in disease of the brain and the nervous system. There's neuropsychologists who can assess, diagnose, and treat psychological disorders associated with brain-based conditions, and psychiatrists who specialize in disorders that affect mood or the way the mind works. And of course, psychologists with special training in testing memory and other mental functions. Okay, what we now know what the signs look like and what we should do to approach this conversation. Now let's discuss the benefits of early detection.
There are a number of benefits in early detection of Alzheimer's. For one thing, a person is able to have a voice in what happens next. They can make plans. They can live life more on their own terms. They can also make plans for the future, financial plans, care plans. They can let people know what they want, which can be a real gift later on. It also allows time for families to make plans and to make decisions about who can do what and figure out care and those kinds of issues. Also, the treatments that are available for Alzheimer's don't cure Alzheimer's. They don't slow down the disease, but they do help with symptoms. And it seems as though they tend to work better the earlier a person is able to use those. So that can help too. Some people are interested in clinical trials. Clinical trials allow people to have access to treatments that aren't available yet. And for some people, that can be a really important thing to pursue.
Paying attention to changes you notice in people, especially regarding memory, thinking, or behavior, is important for early detection. If you observe unusual behaviors or occurrences, take action by having a conversation about what you've observed. Consider using the 10 steps to approach memory concerns that we discussed, and use that as a guide for this conversation. Customize it so that you're approaching the person in the best way possible for them. There's a number of benefits to early detection, such as planning for the future, access to treatments for symptoms, and participation in clinical studies. Now let's take a look at what may be involved in the medical process to determine the cause of symptoms. Let's start by testing your knowledge. Okay, this is your test. True or false? There is currently no way to diagnose Alzheimer's disease. Is that true or false? The answer is false. Contrary to an outdated belief that an Alzheimer's diagnosis can only be made by an autopsy, there are a number of assessments and tests that can make it possible for healthcare professionals to diagnose Alzheimer's and dementia with a high degree of certainty. However, determining the cause of dementia can sometimes be more difficult. Here we're going to explore possible steps of the diagnostic process. Keep in mind that as we go over these steps, that not everyone may be asked to undergo each one by their doctor. Assessments can include getting a medical history, physical exam, a screening for depression, interview with a close companion. The tests could include a lab test, mental cognitive status tests, and brain imaging. Mary's daughters are preparing for answers about their mom's changes in behavior. They wonder, do dementia-like symptoms always result in a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia? Appointments have been going well. Mom's handling them okay. Think it's really dementia? Guess we won't know until we get a diagnosis, but let's ask Dr. Salloway if it could possibly be anything else.
Someone could have high blood pressure that's out of control, or they might have a thyroid condition that's not regulated, or diabetes that's not right, or on a medication that actually can cause memory loss. Drinking too much alcohol can make memory worse. So there are a lot of factors that go into cognitive difficulty with aging that some of them can be remedied. And so we want to do everything we can to improve cognitive ability and quality of life.
Let's review. The diagnostic process will vary from person to person depending upon the individual's specific situation and what the doctor feels is the right course of action for that person. The diagnosis may be something other than Alzheimer's or another dementia, which is why it's really important to investigate the cause of the symptoms. Stigma and misconceptions about Alzheimer's, like nothing can be done, that can deter some people from seeking a diagnosis. Getting information and support is also a critical next step. Let's learn a little more about what the Alzheimer's Association offers. So if the diagnosis is Alzheimer's, what's next? Let's see what Mary's daughters, Lydia and Patricia, do. I called, but got your voicemail. How'd it go? Call you later when I get home. But the diagnosis is early stage Alzheimer's. Oh no, what do we do now? Doc said the Alzheimer's Association offers free resources. Some even help people live well with the disease. We'll call soon, but I left the office with some hope. The Alzheimer's Association is in communities across the country and on all islands in Hawaii, providing service to individuals and families facing the disease. Our mission is to eliminate Alzheimer's disease through the advancement of research, to provide and enhance care and support for all affected, and to reduce the risk of dementia through the promotion of brain health. Our vision is a world without Alzheimer's disease and other dementia. The association is available wherever and whenever you need reliable information and support. 3 of the key resources that you can connect with for information and support include our 24/7 helpline. Call us at 800-272-3900 anytime, day or night, to receive information. It provides access to highly trained and knowledgeable staff who can help with education, decision-making support, crisis assistance, and resource identification. We have master's level clinicians available around the clock to provide in-depth care consultations, all free of charge navigation services offered to families at any stage of the disease. Help is available in more than 200 languages. Let's hear from Tim, a care partner who has called the helpline for support.
I've had a couple of phone calls that I've been able to make in to the call center when I've had a couple of quick questions that I wanted to ask. You know, there's been a couple of nights, 2 o'clock in the morning, you have questions, you have anxieties, and I was struggling dealing with them, and it's amazing. It was one of the best things I ever did was keeping the call center on my favorites now. Just to know that there's somebody you can call who is aware of what you're going through.
Next is our website, alz.org. Oftentimes, it's the first stop for individuals, following the diagnosis of Alzheimer's or another dementia. It includes sections specifically for people living with the disease and caregivers. We'll hear from Teresa, who is living with Alzheimer's, about what questions she had and the information she found on our website.
When I went to the Alzheimer's Association website, which is alz.org, there I was trying to find out more about what was Alzheimer's, what really is this disease, what is younger onset Alzheimer's, what is dementia, is there a cure, how long has this been around, how many people are affected by this, where can I go for resources, where can I go for help, what do I do with this? How can I handle this? Is there more people like me out there? Is there someone that I can talk to if I need to? And there I found the support line that's 24 hours a day. And there I found where I can go for workshops, where I can go and read things and postings that people have done, where I can find out what events is happening in the Alzheimer's Association, where I can see how it's affecting people around the globe.
And we have Community Resource Finder. It's a wealth of community-based resources available in your area, including long-term care and community-based services, where our office contact information is, and also their offerings of programs and support services. Visit alz.org/CRF. Tom was also living with Alzheimer's, shares his experience seeking help from the association to find local resources.
Since I've been diagnosed with dementia, the one place that I know I can go to for assistance and help and support is to the Alzheimer's Association. There are people there that I know by name that I can contact if I'm having a difficult time or if I'm struggling to find some resource, that they will provide that to me.
Now that we've taken a basic look at Alzheimer's disease and what resources are available, let's talk about how you can take action. You can volunteer, whether you can spare a few hours or make a more significant time commitment. Consider volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association. There's numerous opportunities available, including becoming a community educator or joining your local walk planning committee. Visit alz.org/volunteer to learn more. We also have advocacy, where an individual can become an advocate and speak on behalf of the needs and rights of those facing Alzheimer's disease. Visit alzimpact.org. We also have Trial Match. Everyone can help advance Alzheimer's research by participating in clinical trials. Get started with the Alzheimer's Association Trial Match, a free, easy-to-use clinical studies matching service. Visit alz.org/trialmatch. And we have Walk to End Alzheimer's. Form or join a team for the Alzheimer's Association's walk and raise critical funds and awareness. It's held annually across the US and on every major island in Hawaii. Walk to End Alzheimer's is the world's largest fundraiser for Alzheimer's care, support, and research. For information, visit alz.org/walk. Okay, that concludes the 10 warning signs of Alzheimer's presentation. I'd like to turn it back to Tanya, for any questions that anyone may have.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. That was wonderful, Steve. A lot of information there. We are here to help. Everything that he, all the information that he gave you about our website and the community resource finder and all of the programs that we offer, sometimes that can be kind of hard to navigate. So if you need help with that, feel free to give me a call. My number is actually should be on the screen, 808-518-6651. But wanted to let you know that I did put in the chat section for our next program, which will be on January the 21st at 5:30. And we're going to be talking about dementia conversations, how to get someone to the doctor, that initial, the very beginning stages of, okay, what do we do now? And how are we going to get the ball rolling? If anybody have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.